we have you all in the town of Phandalin. You've basically just taken a long rest, having arrived in the evening. You saw some of the town or village people in the inn the night before. You saw a little bit of the actual happenings of how people socialize in this little town here. Does anybody remember the name of the guards of this town? So you kind of saw them like in a side of Stonehill Inn, basically taking over a little bit of spaces. There were quite a few of them. Didn't have a whole lot of interaction with them, but they also didn't seem to be like absolutely the most friendly of people. But you all do have like kind of a sense of just this general attitude of this was like kind of the night of. I would say, as far as mornings go, when you all wake up, you're going to have far less individuals inside of the town here. If you'd like to start with a breakfast inside of the inn, you are more than welcome to. They do very simple things. Everything is pretty cheap. It's 2 coppers for a meal, copper for an ale, and you can kind of have your breakfast here, or you all can start with rations and go about your day. You do not have to start inside of Stonehill Inn. What I will say as far as pepper goes, I don't normally hesitate in the least bit to throw somebody into the group. I consider it like putty. I want to slam you into the group and just allow you all to role play. Especially with you joining last minute, I'm not going to try to think of a crazy narrative to bring you in. I want you to be in so you guys can just start role playing right away. Please don't hesitate to ask me questions if you feel like there are things that you're missing. But as far as things go, I would say that you are essentially uh, we'll kind of figure this out in the long run, but have some sort of ties to this town. I would say in the long run, it would work to say that you were invited here by your friend or acquaintance, Gundren Rockseeker. Whether you need to have known that they were a dwarf or not is fine. It could have also been one of his compatriots if you don't know any dwarves, and it would be more likely that it was a human who invited you. But in the long run, let's just go with the idea that George has been invited here. You know vaguely enough to look for Elmar Barthen is affiliated with this group that you are looking for, as well as basically a rough description of 3 adventurers who I would then ask, can we have a, again, first impression, kind of walking up on somebody from 30 feet away? What does Einar look like? What does Oyvind look like? And for what it is worth, I'm going to describe a quick thing of candor so you know who the third member of this party is at present. Justin, who is just not present this week. But essentially, from a distance, you will see that Candor is about a 6 foot tall figure. I believe he's about a mid-20s male, maybe into the 30s, darker hair, pretty large build. He's certainly not lacking in strength, but he is also not just a pile of muscles. On his person, you are not going to see a vast amount of weaponry, but he does carry a sword on his side as well as a bow to him. Um, but otherwise seems that he could be somebody who is simply adept at hunting, could be a hunter, could be a tracker. There's a lot of things that he kind of like fits along just as sort of a normal individual, kind of a gray man. And I believe he's wearing darker clothing where he's kind of in like dark browns and dark blacks. Would Oyvind or Flynn care to, or Einar or Flynn care to describe what their character looks like when George walks into the pub?
So, Einar can look like a suspicious-looking character. He usually wears a hooded garment to cover his face, um, and he will avoid eye contact as well. He's probably well, he's in his 30s. Average build. Again, he's an average human being. Carries two short swords and a bow um, as well. He perhaps doesn't look the friendliest of characters, but he that's just him being suspicious of everyone that he actually meets. Mm, That's me.
How about Flynn? What does Flynn look like?
Uh, Flynn is about 6 feet tall, I think. Dark hair. Uh, mid 20s. Clean shaven. Uh, he's wearing full chainmail armor. Um, he's got a long sword and strapped to his side, and he has a shield with a deity's symbol on it. That's about it.
Offhand, George, are you a religious person at all?
George is religious in this. Hang on, sorry. Do you mean real life or in game? I have to ask.
No, my
Are you
bad.
looking for?
When I say George, I'm going to be speaking
Good,
to
good.
your character.
Okay, very good. George is religious in the kind of way of a man looking for answers. He is probably agnostic, which is a strange thing to be in a world with so many gods.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely something else when gods are ever present. I feel like that would be something a little closer to somebody who denies that they deserve the name of God, perhaps a little bit more than that they deny that they exist. But yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's entirely possible that you have no clue what that actual holy symbol means. But I think it would be aware enough to recognize that you do indeed have a
Uh,
holy person.
I have. I'm pretty sure I do. Yes, I do have a perception. Perception. I have a proficiency in religion. He does have a. He does have an intrinsic interest in it, but
Oh, okay. That's
he's
good.
not. He's not a very smart man, and as religion requires some amount of smarts, he's sort of blundering in the dark. It's a personal interest he'd like to be better at, but he has so many crisscrossed beliefs and things. He's a bit of a strange one.
Part of how I do a lot of skill checks is actually that somebody with the proficiency is the one who is able to do it. Part of what I was fishing for there was whether you were religious proficiency. So if I can, let me have you do a religion check. As far as things go, I know you don't know how long or how frequently you'll be able to play. I will want you to have the character on D&D Beyond because I save PDFs of characters at the start of sessions. But as far as things go, we can kind of
Well, I'm
move
happy
past
there.
that for this session.
Yep,
So
I'm
yeah,
just about to send you a PDF. If I can.
you could recognize that this is a symbol of Shantia, who is effectively a god of the harvest or a goddess of the harvest. And
Okay.
then with that, can let me have. I'm going to describe one more person who you would actually see in this tavern at that moment of coming in here, who is the actual owner behind the bar, or rather the bartender from your perspective, who is a older man, probably like pushing 40. He might be a little bit younger in the 30s. It's kind of hard to tell as he's kind of a shaggy individual. He has nice clothing on. It's simply very old. So it's one of those things where things were nicer at times, but he's simply just kind of wearing something overly so. But as far as things go, he seems to be kind of just a slow moving, about 6 or so, a little shorter than the others here, probably about like high 5 foot tall. Um, what is that? I feel like I'm looking for like 4 meters, like 3.5 meters. That's like a normal human is like 3.5 meters. Or is that tall? My bad.
3.5.
I often want to convert stuff to metric, so I say it both ways. But I actually have never thought about the height of a human in
So
meters.
6 foot's 1.8 meters, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, he'd probably be about like 1.8 meters or so. Right about a very average height. He would be a little bit shorter than the other adult humans who you're kind of coming up on here. But other than that, you are basically walking into this tavern where there appears to be 4 people at present. And if I can you describe George for us?
Yep, sorry. Okay, so George is, he's probably in his middle age. Well, he's a human. He's going to appear to be probably, I feel bad for saying middle age now, probably late 30s, early 40s, maybe mid 40s even. He's got a high widow's peak. He's dressed fairly casually. He's got some leather armor on, but it looks a bit shabby and a bit weird on him. His shirt's sort of, from what you can see underneath the leather, it's untucked from his pants, and there's a bit of leaf sticking out of his hair. And he looks like he's just been subject to a loud noise somewhere, and it's sort of scared him a bit. And he's not. He's very in a different society. A stimulant or something, and he's just not a bad one, just like caffeine, I guess. Very jittery person. He's carrying with him. He's got a crossbow. He's got a wooden club. His hands aren't terribly calloused, so you wonder if it's more to show off to others that please don't attack me. I'm armed. I swear I'm armed. He's wild-eyed and he's looking around. He's clearly here for a purpose.
Excellent. So as you walk in, the man behind the bar is going to kind of look up from the others who seem to be taking their breakfast here, and he's simply going to welcome you with a, "Oh, welcome to the Stonehill Inn. Uh, my name's Toblin. I'll be taking care of any needs that you have. Are you here for breakfast, or would you need a room for this evening?"
Ah, very good, sir. Thank you, kind keeper. Uh, uh, a room. Sure. I feel I'll be staying here for some time. I have business. I was summoned by a friend. I'm supposed to be meeting some people here. Do you have there been recent new people in town, perhaps? New arrivals.
So I don't think it would be difficult to say that you're already starting to kind of pick up that the 3 individuals who are still here are starting to fit the description that you've gotten from either Gundren
Fair
or
point.
Sildar. But as far as things go, you're going to see this man kind of with like a little bit of hesitancy. This is the first time that he almost has kind of like a twitch to his movement. He'll kind of pause for a moment before he looks to the others, and then he'll look back to you with just a, "Oh, well, we often have new people coming through town. There's many miners and many people who are searching to make their way in the world. But you can certainly. Do you know who you're looking for?"
Well, I was, and sorry, this is out of character. I was friends with. Did someone say what was the name of the person that may be a dwarf that asked me to come here in the first place?
Yeah, like if you're okay with knowing a dwarf, then I would say go for Gundren Rockseeker as the individual who has invited you.
Okay, so very good. I was here at the request of Gundren and some fellows that he may have also requested. Never met them, but I hear good things.
Oh, Gundren, I don't believe I've met anybody by that name coming through here. Would you have said that it was a dwarf?
Sure, I'll describe him
So,
as a dwarven gentleman of business.
So when he kind of is thinking over this name, I don't believe I've met a dwarf named Gundren. There's very few of the stout folk in these areas. And then he'll kind of look to you with a little bit of kind of consternation as he leans over the bar. There's a few dwarves who've been seen in town. They don't have the greatest of reputation. I don't believe any go by that name, but Granitebane is one of them. I don't believe you'll be finding him in town, though. He seems to have troubles with the Order of the Owls. Apparently, they say he attacked them last night.
Doesn't sound like my friend Gundren. Strange for a mining town, not to like dwarves. Have they been causing trouble?
I heard stories of this place when it was settled some generations ago, that the dwarves, gnomes, and humans all got along. It's not quite like that anymore. Since the humans have come back to settle here, we've a tense relationship with our gnome friends, but the dwarves have not seemed so welcome.
History, always a touchy subject, especially amongst the long-lived ones. Very good. I'm sorry for being so unknowing of these parts. Was you meant the Order of Owls? Who might they be?
They've been hired some time ago by our town speaker, Harbin, to bring some order to the town, the Order of the Ruby Owls. They're protecting us.
Yeah, fair enough. Protection, always, yes, always a good thing. I like the idea. Very good, innkeep. Yes, might I purchase a room and some breakfast? George will calm down a little bit. He seems to have gathered that no one's going to jump him.
Yeah, so he'll start to basically prepare like a little drink for you, tell you that he can set you up for a room. You're welcome to basically head upstairs if you want to drop anything off to the room. But otherwise, he'll kind of step towards the back to go grab a little bit of kind of like hardtack and probably something kind of like stewish, which is essentially like uh, a soup made of last night's fare that he'll come out of. But basically, he's going to step into the back room for a little bit, leaving you with the three people who are at the bar.
Have we heard what's been said? So Einar would like to just lift his head and say to straight to George, hi friend, I heard that you mentioned the name Gundren. Can you tell me what your business is with him?
So as a player, I'm a little bit loose on that, but George will. Friend Gundren, he asked me to come here for a business. There's a business proposition. To be honest, I don't really know. Sometimes you just travel for the thrill of finding what's around the next corner. And well, if a friend asks you, surely at least where you're going is safe. I hope.
Well, yes, I think we have business with Gundren too. Am I still right in thinking that it was Gundren that we can't find Gundren? Is that correct?
Yeah, he was supposed to arrive here before us, but he wasn't around when we arrived.
So yes, friend, we're it seems that we're on the same mission to actually find Gundren. So welcome. Your help would be appreciated.
Very, very good. You must be the others that were mentioned. Glad to be in the company of those who may also be good friends of Gundren. It's always pleasant to find a good hearth when one comes to a new home.
Yes, a friend that's offering many gold pieces for our services. So he's definitely a friend, even though I've never actually met this Gundren.
Ah, yes, that sort of friend. Well, he can be that too, I guess. Friends is friends nonetheless.
Friends until there is no more money.
Yes, he said he might have a job, so a big. Sorry, he said he made some sort of big. He's onto something big, so I'm not surprised he invited more people. It's probably requires a lot of hands for whatever it is, but first will need to find him. Uh, we do have. We were going to go talk to Barthen. Suppose if you're a friend of Gundren, you can come along.
Oh, most kind. Thank you. I wouldn't know what to do with myself in this town otherwise. And sorry, DM, just a question. What was the cost of the room and the breakfast? Although looking at my notes, I apparently don't have money, so maybe I shouldn't have ordered those things. I didn't look at my sheet properly.
Very minor thing. As far as my games go, I care very little for the actual like tallies of keeping track of things. You can do that effectively on an honor system. If you live very richly, I expect you to live very richly and pay for it. But that's one of those things where everybody has like a certain standard of living, and you kind of pay like that. But again, like effectively, the room's 2 copper, the drink is a copper, and a meal is 2 copper. If you got all three, you're looking at 5 copper. As far as things go, just like with them, they've completed the starting mission already, which is effectively to get here. As far as things go, you can have whatever starting gold your character would have, and then 10 more. But for the long run, I would say you're just slightly more isolated to Gundren invited you here. Perhaps you had coin waiting somewhere along the route to furnish your travels. But for what it is worth, just come into the situation as you are, like you all have. Um, and then when you all are finished with kind of this scene of meeting each other in this tavern location, you can head off to where you would like to go from there. But effectively, Toblin is here to kind of answer anything as a local for you all at present. You've got this pretty wide open tavern. You would see at different points that Toblin is indeed married. His wife is a little bit younger than him, also blonde, also rather tall, or also kind of rather normal height. Her name is Trilena. And then their little one, who's like 6 or 7 years old, running around, uh, is ruckus during the day. The others have seen at nighttime. He is a pretty studious worker, just like anyone else. His name is Pip.
Okay, very good. So I guess George will look at the three at the counter and say, "Well, friends, new friends. I hope you don't mind me calling you friend. Shall we go and explore this town?"
That's a very good idea. I've had the best night's sleep I have in quite a while, and so yes, I'm eager to get out there and see what's happening.
Yeah, sure. We just need to stop by and talk to Barthen real quick. See if he can give us any direction on where we should start looking for Gundren.
So, as far as things go inside of this town here, again, to kind of set the experience of what you all see from the ground level, this town exists on the kind of leg of a mountain that is coming down. So everything is higher to the east than it is to the west, as well as it is basically higher to the or it is lower to the north and it is lower to the south. It is again kind of in a ridge that crosses down in kind of a point here. As far as Stonehill Inn goes, it is on kind of this main road. You can see from Stonehill Inn that this inn is about, like, say, 30 or so percent made of flagstones. Much of this village is flagstone kind of foundations. Some of them belie that these homes used to be entirely stone and are now built of wood, and you can see that the wood is all kind of fresh cut. So as you investigate and explore this town, you'll see some of the homes are still in ruins. Some of the homes belie that they are very freshly cut. One of the oldest homes is going to be the orchard that actually has like a patina to the wood where it is actually aged over time instead of something like Stonehill Inn has very freshly cut wood. Not the freshest, but that's kind of like just an experience of how you'll see this town is that it is wood sitting on top of stone foundations. As far as the main road goes up the saddle of the mountains, there are the ruins of a large home at the top of that kind of saddle. The walls around the town are almost entirely in ruins. There's very little protecting it other than just a kind of height looking down around valleys around it. But from Stonehill Inn, you all have kind of the town center off to the immediate west of you. Barthen's Provisions is back towards the northern entrance of the town, and you all can kind of head back over there and go to see Barthen's. How early in the morning do you all think you are heading over to Barthen's? Do you think you had like a quick meal and you're just off pretty close to sunrise here? Are you all earlier than sunrise? Is this like noonish?
I'm happy to leave that to the group who have been here for a session. Yep.
Yeah, it's just as much about how long you guys spent in the tavern together as well.
On that, I would say mid-morning. George is give it an option. George is a bit of a scaredy cat. He's not going to enjoy traveling by himself on a road at night if he has just arrived. If he's walked into town this morning, he would have done so in daylight hours, so he could see what was around. He's a human. He doesn't have dark vision. Probably would have come after dawn light, and then from there it would depend on the other characters.
Ainara's also been sleeping off drinking a little bit too much last night, so yes, I would agree with mid-morning.
Yeah, Flynn would wait for Einar and to sober up or get over his hangover a bit.
Excellent. Do you think you would have done any exploring on your own, Flynn, or do you think you would have just waited for them kind of in the room?
Just wait at the tavern.
Gotcha. So
I
you
was
all
going to
may
say,
have.
I think Einar, sort of standing outside, I think there was a shrine opposite the tavern, the inn. I think Einar, just at being inquisitive, would go over to the shrine before, just to take a quick look to see what that was about.
That was quite literally what I was about to speak to.
Oh, excellent.
No, you're good. You all may have missed it in the dusk as you arrived, with a little bit of things happening on the outskirts of town, heading through Barthens and more or less getting into Stonehill after dark. You may have missed that in the center of this little town square, where other buildings have been built up, there is one area where there's kind of just a small pile of stones. If you didn't know better, you would think it's the kind of thing that maybe somebody is collecting some flagstones as if they're about to start building the foundation of a new home. But at this time, when you all are stepping out of Stonehill Inn, you will see inside of this little kind of triangle of stones that just makes a single, like 90-degree arc. You can see that there's just a person who seems to be taking a knee, and they are kind of praying into the corner with their hands kind of blocking their head, mostly out of view. But this person, like their face and their features are mostly out of view. But this person seems to just be kind of hunched over into this corner. It pretty clearly is somebody praying. If you listen to what they are saying, you can hear kind of the mumble of a personal prayer that is just audible, and more or less make out that this is a female, seems to be speaking in common, but it's just kind of below your ability to hear. As far as their clothing goes, they're one of the cleanest people that you're going to see, like actively around town. And you can spot people around town if you look for them here. Most people are working at this time of day, but she seems to be one of the few people who is essentially doing something other, and she has this kind of tan white robe that covers her torso and kind of drapes into the mud here, as well as she has a hood up over her head. But when you head towards that little shrine, you will see this person much closer. Do you interrupt them? Would you like to say anything to them? Or are you just kind of going to... That was me purposely leaving it off for you to kind of take the reins.
Yeah, I'd just like to. I wouldn't want to interrupt the lady while she's in prayer, but is to just to go and kneel by the shrine, and maybe just. I'm not a religious. Einar's not a religious person, but he will sort of listen in and pretend to make his own prayer.
Okay, roll a perception for me. What is everybody else doing as he kind of joins this person in prayer?
George will be sort of running his hands through his hair, sort of sporadically, and glancing around a little bit nervously. But he'll be interested to see what the new friend is doing and what's taking place here. He's always curious about religion. I will. Sorry.
Yeah, if Flynn doesn't recognize the god, he'd probably just stand to the side because he's not gonna use a shrine to a different deity for his own prayer, say nor will he say a prayer to a deity he doesn't know that he's praying to.
Gotcha. So Einar, as you approach a little bit closer, you're going to hear this woman's prayer. A lot of it still is quite quiet. As far as what you can kind of pick up, you kind of will just maybe hear something to the effects of Timora, goddess of good fortune, please bring me strength, bring me favor. As we approach these times and bold action is required, favor me, bring fortune to the bold.
Can I now try to to catch a glimpse at her face in the hope whether I might recognize her or not.
Looking from the side, you can see that she's a younger woman. You can see some of her hair kind of cascading out of the cloak, the cover or the hood that covers her, and she's kind of got like a golden yellow hair that's kind of like shines yellow in the light, but has kind of like a kind of sort of cherry red to it. Um, she doesn't seem to be paying attention to you. And that keeps most of her features covered. But from what you can tell, this is somebody who's pretty fair skinned, humanoid. If they're elvish, they're probably half elvish, but they're probably human from the uh, general looks of them. She's probably younger 20s or 30s. Uh, doesn't seem to have like a lot of wrinkles to kind of distinguish her as aged. Um, I think as far as without like interrupting her, that's probably what you can gather here as she's not responding to your presence.
Okay, I'll maybe flick a copper into the shrine, and having heard her say, sort of bring me favour, I will perhaps just turn to her and interrupt and saying, fair lady, what sort of favour are you looking for? I apologise for overhearing. Do you have any particular problems?
You need not ask for forgiveness. Tamora thanks you for your gift. It is good for those who invest in their future. Do you follow Our Lady Tamora?
I will lie and say yes.
Make a deception check. She kind of rests a hand on your shoulder. It's good that you follow Tamora. She is a wise goddess and cares for those who care for her. You will find great boons by being stalwart and faithful. She gives great things to those who bring great things into this world. And as she kind of rests her hand on your shoulder, she's going to kind of stand, kind of looking towards you. You'll see like the first kind of like full view of her face. Uh, has a very kind of wholesome demeanor about her. You can kind of gather pretty quickly she's seeing through your lie, but she's definitely not going to bring that down upon you. And as she kind of turns around, she'll look to the others. In general, you guys can kind of see she doesn't have any particular like holy symbol in the same way that Shantia's is represented with like an actual emblem. But she kind of looks to you all and spinning around. It's good to see new folk. And she's looking at you up and down. I've come into Phandalin. Are you all miners? You seem oddly attired for our town. Mercenaries? Order of the Owl?
Um, no, not Order of the Owl. I suppose we are technically mercenaries, ad- adventurers of the like. Um, we're we. I suppose we're here seeking some sort of fortune.
Great fortunes come to those who search for great things, and with great actions, fortune comes forth. Sometimes, for the betterment of us all. My name is Gariel. It is a pleasure to meet you all. And you are... And she'll look first to Flynn. She's kind of looking over the emblem of Shantia. You can... As far as Shantia goes, it is not like a foreign enough deity that people are surprised to see it. This just isn't the breadbasket of Faerun, far more than she is unknown. But she'll kind of smile to you, looking first towards Flynn.
Uh, hello, Miss. I'm Lynn.
And who are your companions? Still looking primarily towards Finn.
This is George, and I believe you've met Einar.
George will wave a little bit, look a bit sheepish.
Arna's looking a little bit rejected because her attentions are now on Flynn.
Are you trying to hide that? Or are you kind of wearing that on your sleeve?
Oh no, I'll hide it.
Gotcha. Do a performance for me here. You are welcome to anything that you might need. If you all require a holy person to assist you, I am available. I will have to travel shortly here and be away. But please never hesitate to search for me when you are in need. I am at this shrine many hours of the day. And with that, she's going to kind of prepare to leave you all behind, giving you kind of a moment if you had any other questions for her. But at present, she seems to be kind of finishing up to move along with her day.
Maybe you could bless us. We're seeking good fortune. Your blessing would be of great benefit to us.
What coin did you throw to the shrine?
It was 1 copper.
There are many blessings of tomorrow, and some are greater than others. If you would be so kind as to invest in your own luck, I would be glad to share some of the stronger powers of my lady for you. And she'll kind of look to the three of you, and if you would be so kind as to spare a gold apiece for the lady, I would be happy to share a great boon with you.
George will shrug and say, well, I'm always interested in the blessings of those greater than me. I'd be in for it, fellas.
I'm not opposed to the blessings from other gods on the good end of the pantheon.
And I'm certainly intrigued. So, for what it's worth, here's my gold.
So if you all give her over gold, one after another, she is going to take a little coin that appears to be some mundane metal, effectively something a little closer to copper. And you'll see as she kind of spins it in her hand that there's kind of like two little pictures on each side of the coin. And as she's kind of rotating it, you can kind of see that there's just this like chubby little old lady, and she seems to just kind of like smile. And each time she's flipping this coin, you're seeing that this smile isn't like oscillating back and forth from like a stagnant position, but it seems to be much more like flipping through one of those picture books where like there's a like procession of things happening in this coin. And this is clearly magical, as there's not many sides. There are only two sides to a coin, and yet you all are seeing many pictures as this coin kind of like just being held like right in front of your faces individually seems to tell a little story. And it's very comforting, seems very kind of cheerful as this little old lady's like smiling and then kind of moving closer before you can kind of see almost like this like look of she's reaching out her hand. And as this coin kind of like takes you into a little bit of a trance here, Gariel is going to rest one of her hands on yours, on your shoulder. You will feel a kind of warmth flow through your body as she takes the coin, and she is going to drop it into just kind of like any given fold on your clothing, but you're going to see she'll kind of like stuff it into a tight space. So like if you're wearing like a sash across your waist, she'll kind of tuck it into the sash and roll the sash around it so the coin stays there. Keep this coin with you through this day, and tomorrow will look on you with favor. Do not touch it, do not remove it, and be weary about what you do in the times ahead of you. Everybody can benefit from the spell Aid. You gain 5 hit points, and you increase your maximum hit points by 5. So inside of D&D Beyond, when you go to where you have your hit points in the top right of the screen, when you click on that, you should see... I don't need to be looking at this so I can describe it correctly. So if you click on your hit points, you can see where it says current, max, and then temp. You're leaving those all how they are. You'll see healing, new hit points, damage, and then below that you can see max hit point modifier, and override max hit points. Please never use the overrides. Go to where it says max hit point modifier and add 5 there. That is going to add 5 to your maximum hit points, and that is good for the next X amount of time as far as things are concerned. It is 8 hours mechanically. I haven't actually had you roll for hit points with George. Can you roll a D8 so we know how many hit points you have? Excellent.
Just above average.
I don't have your con like in my cheat sheets yet, but effectively just make sure you have 10 plus your constitution. Once you're all set there, I'll look over things for George in the future here to make sure it's all done right. I'm assuming you've got it, but we can kind of push forward here. I don't want to delay too much. But Gariel is going to give you all this blessing. You all will feel the kind of warmth of Tamora flowing through you, and then with that, she's going to bow to you all again. Sadly, Einar, once again, Flynn is going to get much of this kind of interaction as she bows to you all and she looks back and says, "It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to the fortune of our meeting again. You all have a most wonderful of evenings." Or, my bad. Most wonderful of days. And with that, she is going to walk off towards the hill that is just west of the town square here. and she's going to kind of walk out and around this kind of town green before you'll probably lose sight of her behind that little house that's just to the west of the town square.
I'm thinking that we should head off to Barthen's if you're all in agreement.
Yep. Yeah, now that we've got some extra luck, hopefully things will go our way.
Yeah, I've never felt better.
Yeah, George is okay with that.
Okay, so we'll head up to Barthen's and go inside.
My bad, that's the wrong building. Oh, you can't see it anyways, that's good. Heading back into Barthen's. Again, this is a smaller, like, front entrance area. You guys have been through much of Barthen's provisions the night before. As far as things go, he essentially has a lot of the goods that you all brought from Neverwinter. He has a lot of equipment, things that are manufactured. He has some dry goods that are effectively things that have been farmed and brought into here. Most things are not presented in a way that this is like a storefront for you to like browse through. These are things that are stored and you can see them because space is a requirement, kind of thing. But as far as things go, walking into Barthen's provisions again, Barthen will be any given place in here as you're walking in, probably walking about, keeping a little bit of records about things. You can see that he's always got like a little bit of paperwork in his hand, smoking a pipe at this point, and kind of looks up to you all as you all enter to kind of pass a greeting to you. And then as he notices who's walking in, you'll see, or you'll hear, is his little oh, welcome to Barthen's Provisions. My name's El. Oh, you've returned. Hello. Well, welcome. Did you have a good night's sleep?
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Much better sleeping in a bed than in a bush. I'm sure you'll agree.
George, if your con is 14, you have a +2 con mod, and you should be at 12 hit points.
I did
Okay,
the
you got
17 that I
18, so
rolled
it's a
and
plus.
then racial roll. Yeah.
Yeah, with an 18, that's a +4, so you're looking at 14 right now.
Yep. That's good. That's what I had of that, and then the +5 has me on 17 current because of the bonus. So that's all good. That's sort of cool. Yeah. Sorry, I was a bit confused. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've got it right, but I don't want to break any rules. So I'm just double checking. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really difficult with a 2-hour session to like get through stuff where to know whether you guys are actually going to get into combat here. But in the long run, we'll kind of see how things go. As far as walking into Barthen's goes, Elmar is going to very quick to kind of look over everybody and kind of prepare to invite you all into the back. And then he's going to stop for a moment and kind of double check, looking over George. And then you'll see as he kind of like flips into his papers and he looks back up at George a few times. And then at some point, he's going to look over to you and Gundren has called you to town as well. It seems you have found his friends and you are here. You are, and then he's going to say your full name. I'm not sure if you've given that to me, but George. And then whatever your full name is, if you have a surname, basically.
Surname is Kalos.
Gotcha. So yeah, he'll kind of perhaps surprising you, perhaps not surprising you, definitely kind of giving a little bit more assurance to the others. You all will basically see within a few moments of Elmar gaining sight over this person, he already has information about their coming, and kind of welcomes you in. And my bad, head cough. This little old man, he's like 4 or so feet tall, is just going to start to walk towards the back of this room, and he's going to open up the counter and again invite you all into the back. By the time he opens the kind of back door to this open area, like these counters, that's, I don't know what that's supposed to be, a square. That counter is like a bar counter where each side of it picks up, so it almost like flexes up towards the ceiling. He'll open those up for you all to come behind the counter, and then as he kind of opens this door here, he's going to yell into the back, and he is going to call for what is it? Thistle, and he's going to yell out for Thistle. Thistle, mind the store. I've a few things to discuss with these friends here. And you will see the little young girl who's probably about the same height as him. She is going to run out of one of the doors to the west of that hallway, and she'll head out into that same area, and she's going to kind of take up a little watch over the store as you all will walk into that same room with Barthen, where you will be once again inside of the sitting room. He'll invite you all to take a seat. You're just in kind of a very private library. It seems to be kind of prepared for 5 people to sit down and speak. And when he kind of gets you all sat down, he'll take one of the other seats, offer everybody like a little bit of like pipe tobacco, any sort of drinks. He'll have like a little decanter of some apple honey mead on the table and kind of offer anybody just like a little glass of that. And once everybody kind of gets situated, he's going to look to you all. It was not the best of times last evening to share some of the problems that have been going on here. The dwarves, our friends, the rock seekers, have not been welcome in Phandalin. Many of the humans here, and he'll look to you all, no offense, are not welcoming to the other races, mostly to the dwarves. Their claim to the mines of this area is strong, and it keeps many greedy people away. But you see, Gundren has been going by the name Granite Bane while he has been in town. The Order of the Ruby Owl has accused Gundren of attacking their men.
And did he? He was always such a nice man when I knew him. Dwarf.
My apologies, George. The others perhaps have not shared with you, but Gundren was traveling just ahead of them. If he has come back to town, it is a mystery to me. He was supposed to arrive with the cart and the goods that they have brought from Neverwinter, and I have not seen him. To say that Granite Bane attacked them, it seems pretty clear that something has gone wrong. I don't understand why he would make a worse name for himself, nor why he would hide himself from his compatriots.
Do you have any idea where he might be at the moment?
So I think we discussed the horses that you all saw on the trail. I think that was part of the conversation that ended up kind of being cut short as he didn't want to discuss it in the pub the night before. So I think part of where he'll go is if you've described the horses, I think it is safe to say that Sildar as well as Gundren are missing and have been attacked along the road. I think it's pretty safe to say I don't know a whole lot about horses. My mom owned a horse that was like a jet black horse, but I feel like most horses are pretty easy to describe. Like anybody who owns a pet, like you have very unique things that you can describe. So I feel like it's safe to say that, like, you can describe like a patch of the fur where it's white right on the chest of the horse that looked almost like it was a rose, something like that kind of thing, where you can kind of like figure out like what horse was what. And have Barthen basically shared that I think you all know where that you need to start looking for him because you have seen where his horse stopped, and they apparently have gone no further.
Oh yes, we found a horse where we were attacked by the goblins. So yes, thank you. I didn't realise that would have been Gundren's horse. So I think perhaps that's where we should be heading next then.
It seems too convenient to me, and he puffs a few times on his pipe, that the Order of the Ruby Owl is attempting to besmirch the name of Granite Bane. And he kind of like winks. While we also understand that our friend has been waylaid on the road. And he puffs against the pipe a few more times.
If the order grabbed him, where would they be keeping him? Assuming it wasn't goblins, if that's what you're getting at.
And as he's puffing against this pipe, he'll kind of look to you. And yet it was goblins that attacked you, and not the Order of the Owl. They have barracks here in town, but there are many in the Order. It would be folly to go after them. If they have Granite Bane, I must think that they have him elsewhere or beyond our help, and things are more dire than I understand.
Well, if it was goblins, would they even take him alive?
Maybe it was safe. Maybe it would be safe to say we found his horse in the road. Had he been killed, then we may have found his body at that point.
This is a good understanding. Goblins would tend to steal and kill only what they need to. They are brave with their numbers, but usually more mischievous than murderous.
Oh, Well, if he escaped, maybe instead of coming to town, he went to that dwarven encampment outside of town. We should check there first.
I can certainly give you directions towards where the brothers were excavating, and you could see if the others are there. I feel like he sent Thistle the other day. I think that was one of the things that he shared with you. He sent Thistle. I think Thistle came back, and I don't know if he got back to you all then with the idea that Thistle found where the brothers were, where the excavation was, but did not find anybody present. That neither bodes ill nor bodes well as far as Barthen's concerned. The brothers could have been elsewhere. There weren't signs of anything struggle-wise, but it is also still their camp. And Thistle would have gone after dark anyways, so I would have expected Thistle to have found them at the camp, but perhaps they found something more interesting and simply could not get back. If you go towards it is southwest of here. It's quickest to leave from town in the south and head towards Leyland. 5 or so miles outside of town, you will be able to find the excavation. But if Sildar and Gundren were taken from where their horses were killed, that site will degrade quicker than a place that has been forgotten for hundreds of years.
Well,
So,
in that case, I think it would probably be best if we return to where the horse fell. If everyone agrees.
Yeah, it was just my trying to think, would he still be in that area if we went back there, or maybe we could, if we did, maybe pick up some sort of trail. Because I was too busy fleeing for my life last time.
They do say in the Adventurer's Almanac, if your horse breaks a leg, you're supposed to stay near it. I've not seen the horse. From the sounds, maybe it was much worse, but surely he'd stay on the general path.
Okay, so the consensus is that we'll go back to this point where we encountered the goblins.
Goblins. Sure.
oh, whoops, my bad. I just closed my screen. As far as things go from there, Elmar will basically give you all another moment to ask if you have anything that you need before you go. If you have any further questions, he will give you all directions again towards the excavation from the northern side of town. It's a little bit more circuitous to find your ways to where the dwarven excavation is. But you guys basically have directions that from effectively the Phandalin Trail connecting with the Tribor Trail, you guys have directions from there to the dwarven excavation. But if you all head out of town, I believe it's going to be probably about 2 or so hours of travel before you arrive back at the area where you were ambushed by the goblins. Do you all have any thoughts before you undertake that journey?
I just want to stock up on rations. I've used a couple already, so can I buy rations here?
You are more than welcome to purchase some rations. As far as things go, a ration is good for an entire day of 3 meals. So when you mark off a ration, that's like an entire day of eating that you're doing there. If you have like breakfast from a ration, you don't have to mark off a full ration there. It's kind of a weird twist on things, but that's part of why rations weigh quite a lot, is because it's like, think of it as like a block of food that's very caloric dense. I'm not sure if you know what like pemmican is, but it's like seeds, fat, and like dried meat. It is very shelf stable, but it's the type of thing where you can like take almost like a thumb sized morsel of it, and that's like a solid meal for a few hours. It's hundreds of calories in this tiny little dot. Maybe not the tastiest of things. It is like tallow, meat, and seeds. But it's one of those things where it is very caloric dense.
Great, thank you. I will just purchase 2.
I think it says the value inside of D&D Beyond. Most of the time when you're buying stuff from the PHB, I'll just say you have access to PHB stuff there. You can just purchase it. Barthens will sell you all things here at 20% off. I think it's a silver or 5 silver for a ration, but whatever it is, you can take 20% off of that.
Thank you.
Anybody else need anything before you head out?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, George's is all good.
Yeah, what is it? It's 2.5 silver for a ration, I think. It's 4 gold for 8. So it's a half a gold. So yeah, it'd be 4 silver for a ration with his 20% discount there. But you all can head out. As far as things go, you're on the trail. You all effectively have traveled on here. You have a short, albeit pretty uneventful travel ahead of you. You are basically walking down the northern face of this same arm of the Sword Coast or the Sword Mountains. It is kind of walking down into the valley that Coneyberry follows from here. I believe you all were ambushed pretty close to the actual trail head where Phandalin's road meets up with the Tribor. When you all are traveling, you will come back to that same area where you're approaching this like switchback that goes down like a little steeper of a cliff, say something like an 80 or a 90-degree pitch, where these switchbacks are basically allowing you to walk down a cliff face. And at the top of it, I see no reason that the horse carcasses would not be there. You would see some signs of scavengers having fed upon them. But when you all approach that area, what sort of thoughts do you all have as to how you will pick up this trail? Does anybody have survival skills? Are you all just like looking for clear signs of tracks? What kind of skills are you all going to put to the test to find your friend Gundren?
George is proficient in survival. He's not very good at survival. It's another one of those religion things.
Yeah, I'm proficient in survival as well.
I'd say you're probably better at it than George. George gets into things, he gets interested in them, doesn't mean he's any good.
So if George is pretty upfront with the fact that he is not the best of survivalists, but he tries, I
Pretty
think
much.
the other two might be pretty clear that they are both also pretty keen in their survival skills. And with most things, I will allow 2 people to do any given check. The 2 people who are proficient here are certainly welcome. All 3 of you are. In general, I would say make a decision. Do not talk mechanics of it. because you guys don't know the actual difference. But again, George is pretty forward with the fact that while he is skilled, he's not like a great survivalist. He does it out of necessity is probably the best way to say it.
Correct.
For Flynn to also attempt.
So let's get the survival here from Einar and Flynn.
Was it George and Flynn?
No, George is standing back.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine.
And-
Yeah, as a ranger, I have some proficiency in tracking certainly animals, but I can try and put that to use to see if I can pick up any hint of tracks or any fragment of clothing or blood or around the area.
You did the PHB Ranger, so did you pick a region that you are skilled in? I can't remember the wording for Rangers offhand.
I don't think I did.
Favored terrain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Being a complete newbie, I will have to have a look.
Okay, you've got forests. There's certainly places here where that's going to come into effect here, like working in forests. But this at present is definitely mountains. So just do the normal survival here. And then we've got Flynn's there. I think George, probably watching Flynn, George feels a lot better about himself as a survivalist. As far as things go, though, it is going to take Einar little effort to kind of pick up that while there's not much right around where you all fought over these horse bodies, where you fought over this cliff face before, when you start to look off to the edges, to the east and to the west, where some of the softer ground starts to come back into play, and you're moving away from sort of the more compact dirt, you can start to see the trail of these small goblinoids who are moving off to the north. And you guys can start to track this. As you start to track, you're going to eventually cross over the Tribor, and again, you kind of lose their footing for a little bit before keeping kind of a pretty similar track across the actual trail. They pick up on the other side, very clearly covering their tracks when they're on places that they expect people to be, but they're not intelligently trying to like move down this and then cross over to like throw you off. This is very much somebody who just walked straight across and then hid their trail while they crossed the trail. So you guys can start to pick that trail back up on the other side. Eventually, and in little parts, you're going to see that while you can spot the feet of these little goblinoids, you can kind of pick up that there's at times 3 to 5. You guys fought 3 to 5. You might assume that there's maybe twice as many as you can kind of pick out from their feet. But you're also going to spot signs that they are indeed dragging something. And something quite heavy that is probably being dragged with its heels across the ground to where Einar is relatively sure that they have at least 1 or 2 bodies that they took in tow, and you all can begin to track these. While you are tracking Einar, let me get a perception check from you here, please. So while you are tracking these footprints as well as these apparent drag marks that might be either Gundren or the human Sildar, you are eventually going to come to a point where the footprints walk across this area. and they lead directly into it. But you're very hesitant because very quickly you are going to spot that this is somebody who's trying to protect their path from being followed. It looks like somebody walked across this area, but as you can kind of like look, you can see the outlines of where leaves have kind of like blown up from a little bit of a gust and kind of picked up, and you can see like an inner lay of some like thick reeds that are kind of drawn across this area. And with a little bit of effort with kind of the like tip of your bow, you can start to clear off this and show that there is a pit in front of this track, and it is in kind of a choke point where you pretty much have to walk over it, but you have a pit that seems to be in front of you. Can't really see how far it goes down, only right now that it basically has a kind of like grass lid that is almost set on top of it and is most certainly dangerous to fall into. What would you all like to do as Einar points this pit out to you?
George will nod, aware of it, give him a hearty thumbs up as a sort of thanks. I never would have seen that. And I'll look to him for his recommendation of how to circumvent it.
Can we throw something onto it? Is there a large branch that we can just set it off so we can at least determine how big or how wide it might be and whether we can actually jump over it?
Roll an investigation. Any thoughts while he's doing that, Flynn?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look around, see if there's any goblins lurking in ambush or something.
Gotcha. You can roll a perception check there. So while you're looking around, Flynn, and starting to kind of investigate deeper into this, you can kind of brush aside and almost like a little archaeologist, kind of like with a toothbrush, brushing away these leaves, slowly start to clear away and reveal what is an entirely leapable trap. You can jump over this. This is the type of thing where if you all would like to jump over it, you can roll a dexterity, you can roll an athletics, or you can roll an acrobatics to basically try to get past this. If you do that route that you are trying to leap it, there is the possibility that something will go wrong and you can fall into it. One of the other things is you most certainly could throw something into it and actually learn more about how far it goes down, or you all could try to find some other method to bypass this. But you basically have, say, like a 8 or so foot wide pit that seems to be covered by this, like, it's almost like a reed cot that's kind of set down on top of it, and you've now brushed aside all of the leaves that would cover it up and make it kind of blend into the rest of this earth.
Are we in a pass or something that's preventing us from skirting around it? Where do the drag marks go? Or do they lead up to it and then continue on the other side?
He's kind of brushed away the leaves now, but part of what I was trying to say is it certainly looked like somebody did drag across this. He's probably got a pretty good sense at this point that they made it look like they passed over this. That's kind of what I meant. This was the point where they were trying to block anybody who might be following them with a trap like this, and it was only his intuition that kind of picked up that this isn't simply the drag marks. This is now somebody trying to disguise something else as we're dragging across. but otherwise this is like a natural choke point where you guys kind of have like high cliffs that kind of come up on each side of you, and you're in this narrow valley.
Okay.
So you can certainly go around. It's a question of you guys can take some risk and very little time. You can take very little risk and more time. It's just the balance of how do you guys want to circumvent this obstacle?
Einar will jump over it.
Gotcha. What would you like to do? Are you going to go for acrobatics? Yeah, I feel like acrobatics. So with very little effort, Einar is able to get a running start, leaping over, doing a little bit of a tuck and roll on the opposite side, very easily clearing the distance and finding himself on the other side.
George will attempt similar.
And
I mean,
with that,
sorry, I was going to say, aside from anything else, now's a great time for inspiration if that's how you run them, but that is up to you.
with a nat 1 on a check, there's very little you're going to be able to do to avoid it, because you only have one for your inspiration, so you can only make that.
Use it as a plus. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The inspiration, like, you build that up over time. So like right now, Flynn has 5, Einar has 6, Justin, who plays Candor, has 4, and you would have 1. Every
Yep.
single day
Disregard
you
that
have a
then.
chance to get another one. So as far as things go, you could make that a 4. I'm just going to tell you to not waste that, because a 4 is not going to save you here.
Yep.
A lot of tests that I do, while I don't agree that there are crits in skill
Ability
checks,
checks.
a
Yep.
lot of times if I am doing a not 1, I'm not necessarily looking at your modifiers. I'm looking for the actual D20, because a 1 tells me that something catastrophic is happening. So
Yeah.
it kind of like,
A low, a 1 roll at a level 1 character, you're likely to be getting a sub average. So that's fine.
exactly. Yeah, so this is the type of thing where you watched Einar take his little running start and leaping over it. Maybe with a little bit less confidence in yourself, you wanted to get just those few extra inches and just kind of misjudged your length of stride and basically like stepped right on the edge. Your ankle kind of rolls a little bit and you are going to tumble into this. I need a dexterity saving throw from George.
Of course.
So as you start to fall, your ankle might be hurt, but you are going to get at least enough of this leap across that you are going to get your arms up on the other side. Einar, I need you and George just do a strength check from the both of you real quick.
Save or check?
Check on this one. You've already saved yourself from falling. This is purely how fast are you two able to get yourself out of there. So
I'm
with
a
a little
weak
bit of
man.
struggle here, you guys aren't going to find it incredibly easy to get yourself out. It's going to take you a few moments. Watching this kind of struggle play out, what is Flynn thinking about crossing this?
Well, it looks pretty dangerous, but I guess we're jumping. He's pretty confident in his jumping ability, so he's gonna give it a try once they clear the edge.
On the plus side, has George, in his struggling on the side, cleared away some of the further debris? We can see what's at the bottom of the pit now, maybe, and how deep it is.
Yeah, looking down, it's about a 10 or so foot deep pit. You can see that there are like sticks and debris at the bottom. As far as getting a good amount of light down there, it's not easy for you all to see. Do you want to put some effort into looking down into the bottom of the pit?
Once George is pulled up, I might see if I can help out with that. But right now, I've got much more interest on solid ground.
Oh, no, my bad. I've already got you out of the pit.
Oh,
You're
okay.
4 in the 9. That is enough that you did not... Like, if you had failed the DC that I have in mind by much more than what you guys rolled there, usually if you fail, like, certain DCs by 5, I have something else happen. So that becomes, like, a little bit of a skill challenge for you. You ran across and failed. You then saved yourself, and instead of immediately getting yourself out of the issue, it just takes a little bit more time. I'm not going to call for an infinite amount of rolls because you all were successful getting out of the pit. It's just not like a wham, bam, boom, and I'm out of the pit. You guys definitely still struggle to pull George from the pit, but there's nothing else catastrophic happening to George. You are back to safety. So as Flynn starts to kind of rear up to run, George is going to kind of like hold a hand out to seemingly ask you to hold a moment because he wants to look into the pit. What do you have in mind? You're just kind of lighting up a torch and just like laying down on the ground to kind of reach into it? Or how are you?
I was planning to pick up a small rock, pluck a leaf off of a tree, pick up a twig, a blade of grass, cast light as a cantrip on it, and drop it into the pit.
Gotcha. As soon as you drop this light down, you'll see that this pit is indeed about like 10 or 12 feet deep. It is certainly enough that somebody without anyone else's help is going to be stuck in there indefinitely. If you fall in with nothing, you are pretty well stuck in there. The earth is pretty loose to where trying to climb out would probably just be like bringing down more dirt on yourself. Um, as far as things in the base, you are going to see that while there is certainly debris in the bottom, much of the debris is actually carved into spikes. And you can effectively see that not only is this pit meant to keep you inside of it, hopefully it is meant to impale and kill you.
Okay, well, I'm going to grimace a little bit about at that, back away, and say, please be careful, friends. But surely you'll do better than I.
If Flynn has any fears whatsoever, I have a rope which I can sort of, me and George can hold, and Flynn can tie around himself if he has any fears whatsoever about jumping this.
I should be all right. I'll give it a try.
Fair enough. Good luck. Good luck.
So, like I said, you can choose at your desire whether you make a dexterity, acrobatics, or an athletics check here. Yep. As Flynn goes to run and clear this gap with a very seamless leap, he is able to jump over it, and you all are able to attain the other side of this pit here. You know you are on the trail. You have seen signs that they are now looking to you to keep anybody who might follow them from finding their location. What sort of thoughts do you all have as you begin to move forward down the trail?
George is thinking this isn't the happy, friendly visit to Gundren that I thought it was.
So if you guys see on this map here, I have the bottom right of this map revealed in the southeastern corner. You guys can kind of place yourselves on this map as you start to decide how to move forward.
Oh, yep, okay. Sorry,
Um,
grid alignment's a little bit out. That's okay.
Einar would just like is now he's very super cautious. He's a little bit suspicious. He doesn't like the look of where we're heading. He just wants to keep an eye out for any trouble, anything suspicious at all ahead.
As far as grids go, when I harvest maps, I do everything I can to get gridless, but I usually put very little effort into trying to align a grid, and then I just hide the actual grid.
Fair enough.
Maps are a tool; they are not a have-all, end-all of this game.
Oh no, no, fairly aware. I was just a bit like, oh, hang on a sec, I'm not, and I was like, I know what it is. All good.
Yeah, anytime you see one with the grids, it's simply because I really like the map, but I could not find it gridless. Occasionally I will make maps, but usually that is a last-ditch effort to get very particular what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you moving forward cautiously for us here, Einar?
I'm happy to lead the way. I'll just be walking carefully and cautiously along this seemingly northwestern trail.
Gotcha. Let me get a perception from you as you're kind of guiding everybody along this trail. So, moving around this immediate area, you can see that the trail heads off probably about 60 or 70 feet or so inside of this valley. You've got stone walls to the east and to the west of you, signs that it starts to curve around to the west a little bit ahead of your immediate position here. And you can kind of see signs that there is indeed areas where somebody could have kind of overwatch positions looking over and around where you guys are immediately traveling. So you are now inside of the area where at any given point, if somebody is attempting to ambush you, you guys are inside of an ambush. You are down below it. So I think there's a certain semblance of, you know, the path leads through here. So if there are defenders, you know to find them up above you. And I think it would be the type of thing where you guys would probably find yourselves at very least actively and regularly trying to spot ways that you would gain that height. Otherwise, you guys need to all be ready with ranged weapons if somebody does ambush you from those heights. And basically have those thoughts in mind that you are either going to have to be ready to scramble up one of these cliffs, or you need to be prepared to shoot anybody who might attack you as you guys are basically walking into their trap.
Did Candor come with us, or will he
As
be?
far as things go, Candor is with you because we're going to stop pretty soon here, and I'm
Yeah.
going to have him be a part of it when we pick up here. But in general, I try to play people's characters while they're gone as little as possible. It kind of gets more necessary as things progress in time. But in the long run, yes, Candor is still with you guys.
All right. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, it's noon now. So I guess next week we'll pick up with Candor.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to call it here, that is perfectly fine, and we can kind of pick up still on this trail.
Yeah, it's just like when we get into a fight, I'd like to have Candor with us.
Yeah, I agree. As you say, we're probably heading into a trap, and we'll need all the power that we have between us.
Gotcha. So yeah, we can definitely call things here, and we can pick up with it in the future. I hope next week we have Pepper with us, and your
I'll
schedule
be.
works out.
Uh, my time. I mean, currently for me, it's just hit midnight. I will be commencing a night shift at this time at 10 p.m., which is game start time. So I'm week on, week off for weekends, unfortunately. So I mean, I won't be able to attend often, unfortunately. But
So wait, is that like you'll tend to be every other week if you can do it, kind of thing? Is that what
correct.
weekend
That's,
week
yep.
off? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
um,
fortnightly, effectively.
it's been a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you joining us. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope 2 weeks from now we have the pleasure of your company again. Otherwise, be well. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead with that for next week, moving along this trail to find where Gundren has been taken to.
Great, thank you very much. Good to speak to you all.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. DM, if you've got time afterwards, I might be of assistance, like maps and that, if you have interest in them. I have a few things you might be keen for. I don't know. Up to you. If you've got time to chat afterwards, well, it might be midnight, but I don't have anything to do.
I always try to have a certain amount of time set aside where, yeah, we can 100% hang out. If the others have any questions pertaining to the game, I would give them precedent on that. But as
Oh,
far
that's
as other
fine.
things
Yeah.
go, I'm perfectly open to chatting about DM things just as much as chatting about game things here.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it even without combat.
Do
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
landing
again,
page effort there.
I play what tends to be combat games. They are not exclusively combat, but essentially, one thing to keep in mind is pretty much anything where you have something that is speaking, you have a chance to at least talk your way out of or into combat. Almost anybody who has language, you can find a way to turn an encounter into good or bad directions. Um, Most of the time, if something is simply going for combat, it's because it is explicitly hostile for a reason, or it's something that is animalistic, essentially like operating on lizard or like predator brain levels. So most of the time, things kind of tend towards combat. This in particular, being that it's a 2 hour game, I really love 4 hour games. I think you can get a lot done in a 4 hour game because there's like an RP ramp up. You really get into kind of the meat of the game, and then kind of like an RP kind of ramp down quite often. With 2 hour games, it's something else. I want to make them friendly for new people who can't imagine sitting there for 4 hours, because I know that is a regular thing for new people. Is it's hard often for somebody to imagine sitting down for 4 hours and focusing, but I assure you 8 hours is entirely possible. I think online without seeing each other, it feels like a record to say that I've had 11-hour games before where we do not recognize that I mean, you feel time flying by, but you're in the game and you do not feel the time flying by. Um, it is quite astounding how these games can take your attention and you can really roll with it. But yeah, this one is something else because it is meant to be 2 hours that quite often, walking into town for the first time, you guys could easily spend 8 hours inside of that town and just be like investigating the town. Um, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be fun. It's certainly going to at times feel like you're avoiding stuff, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't get into other things inside of the town. It's just a weird interplay, like any session. You don't know how often you're going to explore little mountain passes. You don't know how often you're going to be talking to somebody or getting attacked.
Yes, D&D is even for DMs that very much like to. If you're giving your players any sort of questions on what they want to do, it's very hard to railroad. Exactly, it's more of an improv game. Well, the DM anyway.
Yeah, putting people inside of like an open world where you actually ask where somebody wants to go. I've had groups who like ask like, "Can we just be railroaded? We don't want to make choices." And I'm like, "No, that is not entertaining to me to just be like, you guys I don't know. If you guys like woke up if we started the session and I'm just like, all right, you guys are over at Barthen's Provisions. You already woke up at Stonehill Inn. You had a little bit of breakfast. You walked out of the tavern and you went over to Barthen's. You're now over at Barthen's having a talk to him about where Gundren is and the fact that Gundren is known as Granite Bane here in town. And you guys are going to search for the goblins who killed their horses. It's like, there are so many, like a myriad of choices that I would have skipped over there just to tell you guys to come here. And if I want to tell that story, why don't I just write a story instead of this? You guys had, I think, at least 3, if not 5 different plot hooks in front of you that were very clear options where you can go. You guys, I mean, I was trying to keep you from necessarily going after it, but the Order of the Ruby Owl is certainly one of those. Finding out what happened to Gundren and the ambush of the horses, certainly one of those. The excavation of the dwarves is one of them. Adabra Gwyn, and I feel like I had another one in place, but in the long run, maybe 4 was the number of options. Or I guess 5 could have just been, yeah, investigating the whole of the town kind of thing. But I like that. Giving choices. I love to put very gray choices in front of people. There is not a right choice. There is not a wrong choice. Some choices might be better than others. And some might turn out to be worse. I think that is the best part of this game, is to see that you have a choice. The group finds a way to reconcile what they want to do. And then every day that things play out, you start to see the repercussions of even some of the most tiny of choices, and kind of seeing how those things develop. I feel like that little coin flip to Gariel was one of the biggest kind of like butterfly effects. If you had not flipped that coin to Gariel, or to Tamora, I don't know if I would have given you even the slightest chance to buy her casting that aid spell on you. And at level 1, running around with, I think 2 of you have 7 and George has 9. No, Einar has 6. So you guys would have 6, 7, and 9 hit points. It's very easy to die with 6, 7, and 9. It is much more survivable to have 11, 12, and 14.
Yeah, I was very grateful for that.
So, like, I've seen people who say, like, you need to do this for level 1s to make them more survivable. I don't feel like it should ever be a need. I like the idea that it was your idea to flick a coin to her. That was the first thing that grabbed her attention. And then you guys asked for something that gave me a reason to see he's at least open for it. And, you know, it gives her something to react to. I feel like that's where this game really shines, is getting to experience like the full ramifications of choices.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm gonna go now. It was good. Yeah, I had fun.
Be well, Nick. Have a wonderful evening, and hopefully we see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week. Bye.
So,
Yeah, thanks. Speak to you next week.